everybody, welcome to Bura. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about how blue-collar jobs are making more money without college degrees. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking about e-learning, I'm going to be talking about getting a job, and I'm going to be talking about making more money. All right, welcome back. So this article just came across my email here, and it's absolutely amazing. So I want to talk a lot about how some blue-collar workers are making the leap to tech jobs with no college degree necessary. And this has been a trend for a long time. In fact, I would argue that this trend goes back maybe 10, 12, 13 years. And it's very easy to see why. Now, you know, back 10 years ago, 13 years ago, I actually noticed this, and I'll talk a lot about some of the stories that I had. But basically, if you can actually code or do something tech related and you're good at what you do, you show up on time and you get stuff done, then guess what? You're going to get hired here. But this is interesting because when I graduated in 2008, most companies basically would not look at your resume unless you had a university or a college degree or a four-year college degree. It's like, we're not even going to entertain it. However, a lot of smaller businesses maybe have a tighter budget, you know, they might hire you. But now that is absolutely not the case anymore. And there's a lot of things to kind of unpack here. But this is a really good article that really kind of highlights what's going on here. Now, this article is fairly wordy, but I'll kind of give you the gist of it. Basically, in the pandemic, people wanted to make a shift, and they found out that they could learn things online and get a new job here. So I'm going to be talking about how this process works. Now, obviously, the younger you are, the easier it is to switch careers, right? Like, it's easier for a 25-year-old to switch careers than it is for a 40-year-old, right? So there was one part in here that was really quite interesting. It was saying that like 77% of people who switched were male, and between the ages of 25 and 44. So I kind of want to talk about that bracket here. Now, it's really hard if you're coming out of a 4-year college degree or if you're 20 years old, it's really easy to think that you're on top of the world, but it's really hard because when you're that age, you don't really have as many skills. So you're going to have to do some kind of grunt work unless you're really amazing. And chances are you're not, right? And so this is interesting because a lot of people just kind of made the shift here. And then there's another chart here that took a free course, a social media course. They took paid courses, etc. here, right? And then this is how they acquired new information here. Now, of course, I run an e-learning business, and this has been as plain as day for the last 13 years. You can just take a really good paid course, and if the course is good, you can do a bunch of things that will help you get to the next level. It's something that's absolutely great. And so the thing is that, like, for example, this was maybe about 2009, right? Early 2009. You know, I had multiple jobs, again, trying to get a business going too. And, you know, I noticed that there was a job for, I think it was video editing. And it's like, if I just knew how to use this piece of software, I would have a higher paying job. And I could probably work on that video editing job much better than some of my other jobs, right? It was a way better pay. It was not only a better paying job, but I actually got a lot more experience doing it, right? But I didn't know how to do it. And so I didn't really have time to learn this new program here. But had I just kind of taken the extra steps to learn that program and applied, then yeah, I could have probably got that job. Now, another thing that happened is that this was sometime in 2011, and I had done some consulting, some free consulting, unfortunately, because things in 2011 were still pretty dire. But anyway, I did some free consulting for, it was a mall in Europe, and they wanted to make an app, right? And I had like several meetings with them to make this app for them, and they basically canned the whole idea. They wanted to have like a 3D representation of the mall within the app, and I'm like, that's just definitely not possible. Anyway, so they felt really bad about just like taking up my time, so they offered me like a graphic design position, and I didn't know how to do graphic design very well at that point. And I just said no, and I could have made like, you know, $1,000 from this graphic design thing, and I thought it would be really good. But the thing is I didn't know how to do that. So when you think of your career, you have to constantly learn new skills, and sometimes you might need that skill later on. And you know, when it comes to kind of skills that you need in this decade, the 2020s, what is that going to be? Well, I would say coding's the number one thing. If you know how to code, you're going to get a job, right? And even if you're not in a coding position. If you work at a place and you say that you built like a simple React app and it took you 20 hours, guaranteed your boss is going to look at you and say, yeah, that person's a go-getter. That person at least knows how some of the technology works at a very basic level, whereas that person knows how to do it, and I have like a bunch of other people that just couldn't care less. They'll go do other things in their spare time, but they're certainly not going to improve themselves, and that really, really looks good for you as an employee, right? So let's say you do that here. So you mentioned that you code and you coded an app, or you're constantly kind of doing something and improving things, then yeah, that's absolutely going to be good for you. But one of the key skills that you need is definitely coding. You need to know the basics of coding, especially if you want to work in technology. You need to know how to code and know how to do just very basic things. The other thing is graphic design. You need to and this is something that was painfully obvious once you start a business. It's like you need to know how to sell something with graphic design, and it will take you, I don't know, 10 to 50 hours to get decent at it. But once you know how to do that, Photoshop doesn't really change over the years. I mean, it does change, but like compared to something like coding, it doesn't change as much. So if you know the design concepts, it's something that can stick with you for a while. Now, I like using Illustrator more than Photoshop here, but you can use Photoshop and Illustrator. And if you have both of those two things in your belt, then yeah, you're going to be more hireable because you can make, well, a simple graphic design, for your email marketing. That's another thing that is really important here, and this is something that is taught a lot more in school. Now, I should also mention, before I get too much on a tangent, that a lot of the things in this article, and a lot of the people that are becoming successful are kind of forgetting what they've learned in school. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But let me get back to the English here. So if you know how to sell something, right? Like in English classes, you always write essays, which is kind of ridiculous. You should, write a sales product. That would be a lot more useful. And it's a huge skill if you can make a marketing email, right? That's something that's really good. Now, email marketing is another skill that, a small business person might want to know, right? So again, what do we have? We have coding, we have graphic design, we have email marketing. What else would be good? Video editing would be another one. If you can just make and simply edit a video. And lastly, believe it or not, kind of showmanship in front of a camera, just like what I'm doing right now here. Now, for years, my parents told me to take an acting course, and I never did it because I just didn't want to do it. I'm a bit of an introvert, right? I don't want to act. I took like an acting class, and it was okay. But I really did enjoy, I didn't really enjoy doing acting, but you know what? The skills that you might learn in a drama class, would actually be very relevant today. And a lot of people don't like that here. But if you took a drama class, or if you just kind of put yourself in front of a camera to be as engaging as possible, that's a skill in itself too. So those are kind of the skills that you need here. And it's not just coding, but if you can have all those skills, it's even better here. And I haven't even talked about some of the IT skills here. So like AWS, all the cloud stuff, you have that. That's really good. In this article, it mentioned cybersecurity. Now, cybersecurity is a lot different from what I do here, but it is also a good thing to do. Now, a lot of people, they end up getting the IT skills like AWS, Google Cloud, Azure. All those kind of skills are really, really good to have. And if you're into that kind of work, then yeah, you can take a bunch of courses on this stuff and you can get good at these IT skills and you'll absolutely be hired here. So thing is that as I mentioned before, when it comes to forgetting things in school. Now, this was painfully obvious as soon as the 2008 recession hit. I remember, like, once the stock market crashed and once I kind of just, floated out some resumes and just kind of heard what people were doing or what they were applying for, I knew that we were in a completely different economic reality. So just like when COVID hit, we're in a new economic reality than we were in the 2010s. It's just absolutely new. And it's kind of interesting that it happened right on 2020, right? I find that to be quite interesting. And one of the things that I instantly knew is that school didn't pay as much as it used to. Now, I absolutely don't think that school is bad. I think school is really, really good. However, that's a whole other video. But the problem is that it costs too much money, and sometimes its priorities, like higher education's priorities, are in the wrong their priorities are different here. For many years, I've said this here, and in 2008, it became absolutely relevant. Before 2008, all you had to do was get a 4-year degree, and guess what? You had a job. That sounds amazing, right? But no longer, right? And it wasn't until like literally 2012 when my business took off that that things really didn't really work here. So you can see a lot of things and a lot of news articles from that time, and in that time there was people with masters in engineering just completely out of work. And why would you go do that here? So it costs too much money. And you know what? Like, there are people out there that have turned a free course into 6-figure jobs here. And that's interesting because that sounds like a scammy Facebook ad, but it's true. You can do that here. And like, really, the paid courses out there, like on Udemy and the courses that I produce, all of these courses are really, really good. And you can get higher paying dividends for like a $50, $100, $150, maybe $200 worth of courses. And if you can do that, well, then guess what? If you can get a bunch of information and you can get a better career for $200, well, that's better than spending $20, $30, or $50,000 on a whole degree here. Now, again, I don't think going to a degree is necessarily bad here. In fact, if you really want to learn to code, you should learn to code for 6 months, go to a boot camp, and then going to that boot camp, you can use kind of the hiring processes in there to get you an internship, and then boom here. But the thing is that now it seems like employers, they need a bunch more labor here, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. So all of these tech jobs are quote unquote better than some of the jobs that these people have previously had here. Now, the whole other side of this coin here is like, if you get a job doing, actually there was in this article here, there was a landscaper that moved to landscaping here. Well, if you're in that kind of work, like construction, there's a whole bunch of other career prospects that you can do. You can go and get like other certifications here. I met someone who was a construction laborer, and then they became a construction architect, right? He took a 2-year course at a college, and guess what? He's now a construction architect here. Now, this is really good for this particular person because, before, we didn't know really how well he would do, right? He kind of just had a job here, but that's great that he has a construction architect degree now, and he's making a lot more money, and his career prospects are much better now. So it's good for him. Now, the whole thing is that if you spend your time, your free time, or any part of your time learning a new skill and a new career, that's going to be a positive outlook here. Now, nothing has changed in that regard here. You have, instead of like watching Netflix, playing video games, then maybe you should go and get a degree or another degree here. And this is something that I perhaps could have done. There's probably a few certifications I've done over the years, but the thing is that, I'm running a business and business is good. So why would I bother to get a degree, right? It doesn't make sense. I want to make more money to do that here. And, most of the days I work here. Now, of course, I could probably spend the last part of my days, doing some kind of extra degree or whatever. But for me, that's my time. I spend all day working here. I wake up between 5 and 6 and work to about 4, spend time with the kids, and then, do my own thing and then go to sleep here. Now, I could do that. But, for the most part, I'm running a successful business, and this business is really on trend here. You can see that paid course is good. In fact, we even give some free courses away as well. Now, another thing I wanted to mention is that if you even if you like games, right? If you like playing games, then you should learn to make games, because get this, in the last keynote of Unreal here, these are all the studios that are looking to hire. Now, I've had a hard time getting a job in the industry, like 2008 to 2011. And then when my business took off in 2012, I got a whole bunch of job offers all at once to work at 6-figure positions to work at video game companies, right? And I turned them, and I almost took them. I was this close to taking it because it would have been awesome, right? And so, but I could have actually done that, taken a position there and just kind of did my own business in my own time. That would have been amazing. But anyway, all of these people, all these companies are looking to hire, right? And that's something that you could do too. If you like the Unreal Engine, if you like playing video games, then learn the Unreal Engine, and that's a really good thing to do. In fact, I love spending my time in the Unreal Engine. I spend some of my spare time just kind of messing around with the Unreal Engine. Even though I do lots of work with the Unreal Engine all day, I just spend some time messing around with it. I think it's really good, and it's very easy to get into the habit of that. All you have to download the Unreal Engine, and you have to just do some work. And guess what? The more you spend time in Unreal, the easier it is to just spend time, because it becomes a habit. You need to get in the habit of just doing whatever it is you need to do, and then it becomes simple, right? You know, it's hard for people to make a YouTube video every day, but I just do it every day. You know, I just make one. I'm making one right now here, right? So there's a lot of things. This is probably one of the best articles that I've read on this particular position here, and it's really interesting to see to see what's going on in the tech space, as well as the e-learning space, as well as in the job space, because we're in a whole different reality from before here. Now, again, this is not really good news for post-secondary education, right? If, you know, for the college, you know, it's very difficult, because if I can take a free course online and get a six-figure job, then why would I not do that, right? Why would I go spend tens of thousands of dollars on a degree when I can just do this here, right? It's difficult. Now, like I said, I don't think that's a bad idea, but the thing is that school has to pay better dividends, because, you know, it seems like a lot of these employers don't really care what your education is. And for me personally, I don't really care what your education is either. If you're good at what you do and we have a spot for you and you can work for the price that we can hire you, then absolutely we would hire you. So it's very, very good stuff. Now, speaking of free courses, you can go to mammothinteractive.com here and you can sign up for the free course. This is a 2-hour Python coding course. It's completely free. It won't be free forever, but it's absolutely amazing. And you should go check it out right now, enroll in it, learn to code in Python. You can tell all of your code workers that you spent 2 hours learning to code on the weekend. Your bosses will be impressed, your managers will be impressed, and you'll probably get that promotion. Every person that goes and enrolls in this course is putting themselves on a better path for their future here. And if you don't do it, then guess what? It just won't be as good for you, because you need to go and take a 2-hour, well, you need to go take this course, right? Because if I were to take two people, one person who takes this course and another person who doesn't, the person who takes this course is going to be better off in the future, right? And again, it's completely free. All you have to do is spend a few hours doing it. And if you learn the concepts here, then guess what? You're going to apply that to your career. And in addition to that here, you get lifetime access to this free course. So you can come back to it a year or two down the road and it's yours. So that concludes this video. I want to know your thoughts down below. Have you met anyone who's made a lot of money in the pandemic just by learning free courses? I want to know in the comments down below. This YouTube channel doesn't get enough comments, so please comment down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.